If you want to do something legendary, it takes focus and daily discipline. It takes executing even when it's hard, even when nobody's listening. Just got to keep going. I still remember sitting at the kitchen table going, holy shit, I got to get a job because I needed the money, but because I didn't want to commit suicide. And I was getting that depressed.
There's a saying, when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing, that's when people decide to make a change.
I did 1,500 videos, 1,500 before I was monetized. There are channels out there that still haven't done 1,500. The ability to not get distracted, to not have shiny object, to just get a little better every day, to not compare yourself to anyone else. It's an amazing superpower that I'm so lucky to have. It's the secret to doing legendary things. It really is.
Welcome back to the Hybrid Real Estate Professional Podcast. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Mr. Michael Zuber. Michael has written a book and hosts a daily podcast and has an online community all under the One Rental at a Time brand and name. His philosophy is very in line with the audience and with my personal philosophy to investing. So I'm honored to have Michael on the show. Michael, thanks for coming on. I would love for you to just introduce yourself to my audience a little bit in your own words.
Yeah, Aaron, thank you for the opportunity. I think my story is your community. I was a W-2 employee. I thought the answer was climbing the corporate ladder and realized at 30 that wasn't for me. But that said, I needed my W to save money to become down payment so that I could buy assets. And what that meant for me is in the beginning, Aaron, I just wanted 4. My lifetime goal was 4 rental properties, and I thought I could get one every year, maybe every 2 years. And the reason I wanted that is my goal was just to have a better retirement. I figured at 65, I'd own 4 free and clear rentals and I would have more options. That was the extent of my vision. But being a hybrid employee, my job was to make as much money as I could during the day. We certainly started to cut back on expenses so we would have more discretionary income. And it worked out. We started about 20 years ago, and it's been a fun ride. We started in '02, which meant before the crash, and one rental at a time is that journey before, during, and after the crash. Yeah, it is definitely the hybrid investor. So pretty cool.
I love that. Yeah. So a little bit of chronology. So you started investing in 2002 and you were still working full time for how long how long did you stay at your career?
Yeah, so my wife retired about 12 years into our journey. I retired at 15 years. We bought our first when I was 30 and I retired at 45.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you did while you were a W-2?
Yeah, I worked in software tech. So I was a consultant, pre-sales engineer, sales guy, sales leader. So I found what made the most money and what tied to my skill set, which was understanding technology, understanding applications, and selling software. So that's what I did.
Awesome. Yeah. So one of the themes in this whole hybrid real estate professional podcast and what I write about is about how we take the skills and connections and of course the income from our jobs and leverage them into building a real estate portfolio. So you just mentioned you were in consulting and sales in the tech space. Those are all very applicable to real estate. But can you maybe share some of the things that you did leverage from a skills perspective from your job that have enabled your real estate investing?
Yeah, when I think back to my career, there's one accomplishment that I've done that almost nobody has. And I've taken 3 different software products from 0 to $100 million in run rate. And uh, very few people have done one, and almost nobody's done 3. And how do you do that? You have to make calls with imperfect information, and you have to execute daily. And one of the things that I did that just ties into what I do now is one of the things I did very early on in my first product was create a communication, a daily email. That's all it was. At the time, it was a daily email. Today, it would probably be video. I'm old, so it was email. I sent out a daily email for almost 2 years about the thing that we were doing, right? The software, the solution, the customers, the vendors, the partners, whatever it was. Every day, an email would go out about 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It would go out about something cool happening. And just like many things, the first 100 days, not many people cared. The next 200 days, A lot of people cared. By day 300, it was one of the most read emails in the industry about what we were doing. And it's just focus and daily discipline. I don't know what to tell people. If you want to do something legendary, it takes focus and daily discipline. It takes executing even when it's hard, even when nobody's listening. You just got to keep going. And that's exactly what we did. I looked at my buy box, which was in 2002, 93703, 3 or 4 bedroom, single family homes, 2 car garage, single story, 1,250 to 1,750 square feet, something like that, for 3 years. Nobody does that. Nobody. Everybody looks at everything everywhere. And that's why you don't get anywhere. And that's why I dominated my market. My market was that small of a buy box for 3 freaking years. If it was in it, I knew all about it. And if it wasn't, it might as well not exist. So I believe focus and daily discipline can win the day in anything. And you either have it or you don't. And that was very clear in my career and very clear today.
Few threads I want to pull on there. Totally agree. So this daily email that you sent out, who were you sending it to?
In the beginning, it was nobody, but eventually it became employees of the company. Then it was partners. Then it was prospects. Anybody's email that I could get a hold of got on the list. And in the beginning, it was 3 new people a day, 5 new people a day, 7, 10. And then once you get to a critical mass, people start giving you their treasure trove of emails. And by the end of that, we were adding 5, 6, 700 people a day to this blast. And it's just momentum. And oh, by the way, it's being authentic, asking. So every email had a closing line. Please share or forward this to anyone else you think would be beneficial or something like that. And we would do contests and we would do all kinds of things to get additional emails and just keep asking and keep being a good person.
So it started in service of what you were doing for a living, for your career. And then, of course, you've carried that daily discipline into now your community and helping the real estate investing community. And you now have a daily show that is video driven and audio driven. So at what point did you shift from you're sending this daily email out about your professional space into launching the show?
So I retire. When I was working, I worked 60 to 80 hours a week. And I was trying to build our portfolio on the side, 20 minutes a day, very much us focused, my wife and I. I retired at 45, had a career moment that I just didn't want. And I didn't start doing anything for the world or the community probably until about a month after I retired. So it would have been about March of 2018. I think actually, yeah, March of 2018. And I did that because I didn't want to get a job. The honest answer, Aaron, is I was getting depressed. And if you know me, that's unusual. I'm very much a glasses half full kind of guy. But here I am, I'm 45 years old, have every monetary need covered and then some, and I'm getting depressed. Now, why was I getting depressed? In reality, as I just shared, I was very much wired to contribute daily on something. And that had been ripped away from me. And I was getting depressed. I still remember sitting at the kitchen table going, holy shit, I got to get a job because I needed the money, but because I didn't want to commit suicide. And I was getting that depressed. And I was like, what an idiot. What a complete failure. You freaking moron, right? This self-talk. What are you doing, you loser? So what I realized on a family trip, because we had to get away, I had to take a trip to get away. And I realized that, you know what? I don't have to have a job. I have to feel like I'm contributing daily. So that became, okay, let's write a book. Let's document one rental at a time, which became a book, a best-selling book, thankfully. And then that became, hey, look at what Graham Stephan and look at what Meet Kevin are doing in 2018. And these guys have 5 or 6 rentals. You've got almost 200. Why don't you tell your story? And that's where one rental at a time came from.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a personal moment and I'm sure a difficult thing to have gone through in the moment. Do you feel like there was a sense of identity that left when you left your job and it was hard to figure out what to replace it with? Sounds
In hindsight, absolutely. In the moment, I had no idea. I just knew I wasn't happy. And I was getting increasingly it was a nasty spiral. And having never gone through a depression or what I can only call depression, I don't know what else to call it. It was a heavy weight that got heavier by the day. It was ungood.
I'm going to butcher this phrase probably, but there's a saying, when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of changing, that's when people decide to make a change. And yeah, I
A lot of
think
truth.
I've had a couple moments like that already in my life, not necessarily related to my career, but to some of the other choices I was making. But yeah, it's amazing what can come out of that, because when you think about, you then launched this community, this book, and it almost sounds like you were battling a little bit of imposter syndrome, even though you had 200 doors at the time, right? And you were saying almost a little bit of, like you said, that self talk, like, who am I to do it? And then we're all glad that you did.
Yeah, I think actually, I don't know. The self talk I was having was very much oriented on my career, right? I was wired to work daily. And suddenly I wasn't working daily. So I don't know if it was imposter syndrome. I just had to replace it with something. What the crazy thing was, Aaron, is I did it because I wanted to give back, right? My North Star, right? You go back and watch video number 1 on my channel. I'm sitting on my couch. I'm basically declaring that my North Star is I want to create something that outlives me by 50 years. Because I believe you die twice. You die once when your body gives up, and then you die a second time when the last person talks about you. So my North Star since creating the channel, the book, everything that's now the community is that's what I'm trying to do. And that's what I work on. So it wasn't about the money. It wasn't about any of these other things. It's, you know what? If I work on this at the time, again, I'm so broken. I did a daily show 7 days a week for almost 3.5 years. I now do it 5 days a week because my wife's like, we can't do this. Take 2 days. So I now do it Sunday through Thursday, but I record content and post 7 days a week. And dude, I spend, I don't know, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. So 15 hours. And I'm having so much fun because I contribute. I get daily notes now about how one rental at a time has changed lives and sometimes changed generations. I'm having a great time. I would do it for free. In fact, I created it not knowing you could monetize. Hey, dude, I'm a freaking Gen X guy I didn't even have a Facebook account until after I retired. I had no idea about social media. And the fact that I could monetize helping people is wild. It's wild to think about.
And you launched it after you didn't necessarily need the money from the content and everything you were putting out. And so you could truly do it from that sense of giving back without having to worry about, oh my God, I need this to make this amount of money by this date, or else I got to go back to my job.
I did 1,500 videos, 1,500 before I was monetized. Think about that. How many people quit after 5 videos, 10 videos? I was not monetized for 1,500 videos. There are channels out there that still haven't done 1,500. I think I'm up to like 13,000 videos.
It's wild. I've been producing this podcast since September of 2023, and I've been doing once a week, a 1 hour approximately interview. And that's a lot of work for me. Granted, I do have 3 young kids under 3 and full-time job and all that stuff too. But nonetheless, yeah, putting out a daily show. What I think is most interesting that you've told me so far, though, is that you started this whole daily writing, creating habit long before you launched One Rental at a
Oh,
Time.
oh no. My daily discipline has been a core tenet of mine. Gosh, this is really, sometimes you can only see it when you're old, right? So I'm over 50 now. My superpower and my kryptonite, if you ask my wife, but my superpower is once I focus on something, I will do it every day. Like I'm very much a 0-1, right? I could do none of it or I'm all in. So when it's healthy, that's a good thing, right? But sometimes you get unbalanced and other parts of your life fall apart. So that's what I have to watch out for. Yeah, I've been this way. My mother will tell you stories about Zuber at 7 or 8 years old being focused on this or that. So it's definitely a superpower that I only appreciate now that I'm older, but I'm so glad I have it. It's the secret to doing legendary things. It really is. The ability to not get distracted, to not have shiny object, to just get a little better every day, to not compare yourself to anyone else. It's an amazing superpower that I'm so lucky to have.
You hear people talk about focus and consistency all the time, and everyone's looking for a silver bullet. But if you really think about it, that's the closest thing to a silver bullet you're going to find is if you can narrow your focus, figure out the one or two things that are really going to move you towards your goals, whatever they may
Yeah.
be, and do them on a daily basis. And 7 days a week is not easy for anyone, especially
7 days a week, 20 minutes a day. No excuses. Stop it. No. If you want to learn real estate, get a buy box, 20 minutes a day, 7 days a week. I did it for 3 years straight. No excuses. I don't like giving people excuses. You can find 20 minutes a day.
totally fair. Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about the philosophy then of one rental at a time, right? Because I think you see a lot of people out there in real estate that are selling this dream of here, you can boot up this machine in the next 6 months. It's going to start pulling in $10,000, $20,000 a month in fees. And you're going to start being able to do all this big, quick value add stuff and all this fancy maneuvering. That's very contrary to what you're sharing, which is no, get focused, learn a buy box.
Mhm.
Learn that buy box and learn where you're going to focus and become the master of that and buy things that only fit your criteria and do it in a slow and methodical way over a long period of time. And it'll get you to where you're trying to go. Sorry, I guess I just described what I think your philosophy is, but maybe correct
Oh,
me.
I think you've nailed it. I think you've nailed it. I would only add a couple of, if somebody said that was my philosophy, I'd shake their hand and say, thank you. I'm only giving you the next layer because this is a podcast and we want to help folks. And I think real estate investing is a skill. Because it's a skill, it can be learned. I believe the skill of real estate investing is getting focused and learning average. This is where most people go wrong. Most people don't realize that real estate investing takes work. It takes effort. It takes consistency. But in order to find a great deal, i.e. exceed your criteria, you only get there by learning average first. So again, focus daily discipline, 90 days, 180 days, 3 to 6 months, you will learn average for your asset type in your buy box. Then, and only then, can you write a great offer. So if your average buy box produces a cash on cash return of 6%, I never want you to buy average. If you're only going to buy one deal a year, why the freaking heck should it be average? Let's shoot for 9%. So every offer you write after doing all of that work should be at 9% or greater in this example. That's the magic. And again, it's not easy. It takes work. You'll write lots of offers because great deals, they don't just lie on the ground waiting for you to come by. It takes effort and work. There was a time, Aaron, where I wrote 100 offers and got nothing back. Guess what? I wrote 101st and 102nd. If you want it bad enough, you will execute. And again, my 100 offers was over a calendar year. It wasn't like in a weekend, but it takes effort and consistency. That's the one caveat to the second layer is go figure out average, then only write great deals.
So do you believe that if you're going to buy one rental per year, do you aim for it to be a home run or do you aim for it to, a home run means something totally different to different people, right? But is it a matter of just stacking together something that can consistently produce over a long period of time? Or is it hey, I need to buy at such deep value that each deal produces X amount of appreciation and all that
So
stuff?
appreciation is never counted. I don't count appreciation ever. I'm simply a cash flow or what I call yield or cash on cash investor. That's all I think about. Appreciation happens. Appreciation has made me a multimillionaire, but I don't count it. No, I don't count it. I lived through the crash, so I don't count it. For me, it's all about learning average. We should only do great deals. That's it. For example, maybe you're in San Diego, California, and an average deal for you is negative 5%. But for whatever reason, you only want to invest in San Diego, California. My opinion doesn't matter. But if you're going to be in a negative 5%, then maybe you should do zeros. That's great for that market. I think a lot of people go out of state because the numbers are better. Dude, you can go broke buying cheap. I know people all the time. Oh, I live in the Cupertino, California, where the median home price is 2.8 million bucks. I can't do anything here. I'm going to go to Ohio because it costs less than my Tesla. Why the heck does that make it a good deal? Why does a house costing less than your Tesla a good deal? Some people think that way. So I want people to do the work. I want them to tell me what their average yield is. And then I want you to do only great deals. I don't judge. If you want to buy in San Diego, California for whatever reason, because you want to walk to all of your rentals, My opinion doesn't matter. Go do you, but do the work first.
You bring up an important point. Like people value different things. People are looking for different things. But I think the
Yep.
role of someone like yourself, who people look to as a mentor, and they consume your books, they consume other people's podcasts, and they're trying to take in all this information, all of which comes from different people who have lived different lives and probably care about different things. And the individual investor is trying to figure out what sense to make of it and how it applies to their own life. So I totally agree with you. They got to do that work themselves to define what is their goal, what are they trying to accomplish before they can really figure out what their buy box is, where they should be investing. But what advice would you give somebody on how to figure that out? The Cupertino investing in Ohio example, what would you
Yeah.
tell someone who is trying to figure out where it is that they should be investing and what they should be looking for?
Here's the deal. Go back to what you and I just said a few minutes ago. I believe real estate investing is a skill. Step one is not picking a market. Step one is learning the skill. So, for example, if you live in Cupertino, California, it is often easiest to learn a market you live in. Again, maybe you have no intention of investing in Cupertino, California, but I propose it is a lot easier to learn the skill in your local market. That's what I did. I learned the Bay Area for a year. Now it shouldn't take a year. I'm just, like I said, I'm broken. Learn the skill. Then once you have the skill, like you could say, hey, Michael, I've been looking at Cupertino, California, only 4-bedroom houses, blah, 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 blah. And the average yield is negative 14%. It's a horrible investment. Great. Now that you have the skill, what do you want? What are you looking for? And then go find the market. I think too many people look at the market first and then try to learn the skill. Wrong. It's, to me, I play sports. So the best thing I think about is golf. If you want to learn to play golf, you don't go to Pebble Beach or Spyglass or Bethpage Black your first time. You go to a driving range, probably a driving range in your backyard, right? Your local area. And you swing 1,000 times. And then at some point you go play a local muni. And then you get good enough and then you go play at another course. And then you go up. It's the same thing. Just a skill. And that's what I think most people get wrong.
I agree. And I also think people get very married to the idea that they have to pick a market and they have to stay committed to whatever the first thing they are trying out. So in your example, it's, hey, learn your hometown first just to understand and build the muscle and the skill. It doesn't mean you
Exactly.
have to invest in your hometown, especially if the conclusion you come to is that it doesn't fit what you're looking for in your life. And but then you can
Exactly
adapt
what we
those.
did.
Mhm.
Exactly what we did. We wanted to buy a rental property. We spent a year every Sunday for 52 weeks. Again, I'm broken, driving streets in the Bay Area looking for cash flow. That was our North Star. Didn't exist. Dude, it didn't exist in 2002. Certainly doesn't exist today. So at the end of the day, again, my wife is smarter than me. She says, Michael, you're broken. We've got to do something different. This is not working. 52 weekends ruined driving around looking at real estate. Do something different. We ended up pulling out a California map and trying to find a market that made sense. And we found a market called Fresno, California. Never lived there, didn't know anyone. But guess what? Over the next 90 days or so, I took that muscle memory, took the ability to network, took the ability, and we bought a property on North Drive that we talk about in the book. Yeah, it's just the way it is, just how I think.
Makes sense. So why Fresno and why California versus opening up the whole map and looking at out of state or other markets that could have potentially accomplished a similar thing?
We certainly talked about it, and we talked about it a couple of different times. But the answer in 2002 is I traveled for a living, so I was on airplanes 3, 4 times a week, and I hate to fly. So personally, I had no interest in getting on an airplane to see my rentals. Just not my thing. So that meant driving, and that's why California at that point. And just so people realize, Fresno's 2.5 hours away. So we're not talking close. We're talking 5-hour day to see one house. That was just my thing. And then in 2006, we had 8 houses, and we realized that the market was going to crash. So we were going to 1031 out of houses, and we actually got on airplanes and we went to Texas and Colorado, and I think we went to Arizona. But we had a team. experience. I hate flying, so it wasn't going to fit. So that's why my own little issues. I hate airplanes.
Hey, that stuff makes a big difference when people think about where they
Know
want to
thyself.
invest. Yeah.
Yep.
And what do you want your life to look once you invest? Right.
Hmm.
Do you want to be constantly being pulled into things? And people talk about different levels of passivity too. In theory, you could outsource 100% of the management to another manager
Oh,
and take your hands off.
yeah. So I fired my first 5 PMs. Could not imagine doing that out of state. It's just tough. Yeah. People talk about rental properties being passive. They're at best semi-passive. I will say once you get to a certain scale, that it could be remarkably passive, but that's not the first 5 years for sure, at least not in my experience.
I try to be very careful with my use of the P word,
Ah,
especially when I'm talking to newer investors who I think that's their initial thought is that you buy it, you set it, and you forget it. But you have to learn those skills. You could try that. You could try that,
what?
but it's
You're
like
going to
rolling
get
the
taken
dice.
advantage of. Yeah, you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah, exactly. So back to the idea of building this community, right? So you've articulated very well the intention behind why you decided to write a book, why you decided to start a show, and how you wanted to kind of share your philosophy and what worked with you for you with others. What has it become? Because to me, it feels like you've done a great job of attracting a really genuine type of investor. It's a very supportive community from everyone I've ever met. And is this how you always envisioned things happening organically, or is it different than what you originally thought?
I don't know right or wrong. I had no vision. Again, I'm very much in the execution. So I can control what I can control. And I knew I would show up every day. I know that I would find others like me, like the lumberjack and Dion and Beth and Anna and so on and so forth. I also knew there would be a lot of people that came on that I didn't click with. So I knew what I could control. And I believe over the year, we've done an amazing job of finding multimillionaires that come back every week to share their story and to talk about real life. So I knew I could do that. But as far as the community, the thousands of members in the courses in the private Facebook group, the hundreds of folks that just think about it, the hundreds of folks that came to the Vegas event, like there was 300 and some odd people there. They each probably spent $1,500, right? Flights, hotels, the tickets, maybe 2 grand. It's blown me away. Now, again, I had no real expectations. Again, as a guy who can control what he controls and then let everything else happen, it has been amazing to watch. I'm blown away every day, right? We did this event in February, and I've been blown away every day since. Because again, I'm broken, right? I can look down and do the work. I very rarely look up to see what's happening around me because I'm already thinking about tomorrow, right? But that event and has really helped me look up. I'm in awe of the people that we've been able to attract and retain. And again, it's people doing the work and sharing and helping others. And because again, real estate investing is hard. The first 5 years suck. So we've got a lot of people in the suck, but sharing the suck with others who have likely been through it or will be through it in the future is amazing. So the short answer is I had no expectations, but I'm blown away. And I'm more determined today to help more and more people move forward. It's a wild accomplishment, and I look forward to seeing where it goes.
That's fantastic and obviously well deserved. For anyone who doesn't know, so Michael hit 50,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel and he had a celebration. I think it was last month in Las
Yep.
Vegas. Yeah, a few hundred people came in to celebrate with him. And yeah, I know several people in your community and they're all torn from a very similar cloth. They just genuinely want to help each other. There's no like flashy salesy vibe. It's really just people who love investing. They love talking about investing. They love helping other people get started investing and they love encouraging and supporting each other. But I think it's pretty cool to be at the nucleus of that. And like you said, it's not because you had some big vision that, oh, I want to be the man. It was, hey,
Mm-mm.
I love sharing my journey. I love committing to producing content that can be of value to people every day. I'm going to commit to that action, something that I can control, and let the
Yep.
outcome play out as it will. And clearly that approach is working, and it also compounds, right? You said,
Yeah, it really does compound. It's just like the story of that email that started with my first $100 million product. Starts really slow. You don't really see the change. And then again, I'm broken. I don't give up. And then if you can hold on long enough, it just compounds. It's an amazing feeling.
yeah, that's fantastic. So there's one other story in this vein that I want to touch on, and you've talked about it publicly. But so you have some courses, and you have your community, you have the book, and someone made you an offer, if I recall correctly, to buy that.
Yeah.
And it was a nice substantial offer, but they wanted to change the whole face of it and the model and
Uh-huh.
everything, but keep you at the center. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So over the last 12 to 18 months, once one rental at a time has grown, we've become recognized by, I don't know, business acquisitions or whatever they're called. I had a guy reach out to me. We had a conversation. He offered me $1 million for everything that is one rental at a time. He offered to buy the YouTube channel, the trademark, the domain, my books, my courses, all of that. And he was talking about, don't worry, nothing has to change, blah, blah, blah. Keep doing your thing. He didn't answer the question. He kept talking about $1 million, like $1 million means anything to me at this point. It's like you guys are talking about the wrong freaking number. If he would have come in and said, hey, I can help you impact another 50,000 people 6 months faster, I can help you do this or that. That would have been an interesting conversation. But this idiot just kept talking about the money. I'm like, dude, you freaking aren't listening. I don't need that. I already have everything I want and more. I'm the wrong guy, but he just wouldn't listen. So yeah, I was offered $1 million, 7 figures for what I'd built, and I wouldn't sell it for 10 million bucks. So crazy.
When I think part of it, if I remember the conversation, was that they wanted to, so you keep your products very affordable, and you haven't really raised
Oh
prices
yeah.
very much. And they wanted to basically redo the pricing model and turn it into
Oh yeah.
something, even though
Yeah.
it
They
would
wanted.
have continued to be valuable, it would have become higher barrier to entry for the people that you already are able to serve in a way that's meaningful to you.
Yeah. One of the things, your base product should be $9.99. We should sell a 4,999 thing. And then there should be a 9,999 thing for some mastermind, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you got the wrong guy. Go talk to somebody else. It just left me feeling sick.
So for anyone in acquisitions out there, maybe learn who you're talking to before you start making them an offer, right? If anyone who's listened to any of your shows would know that that price tag was not what to get in front of you. But I think there's other lessons in there too, right? Which is that if you build a business centered around something that has a strong sense of purpose for you, the rest is it becomes noise, right? Because you don't view this as something that you're grinding to try and turn a few bucks. Like you love it. You love it. So much
Yeah,
so that your
I
wife
have
had
fun every
to
day.
your wife
Yep.
had to intervene and tell you to take a couple of days off.
Amen. Olivia is far smarter than I am. I've always said that. Yeah, yeah. Like, learn who you're talking to. If you're passionate about it, nothing feels like work to me. I have my North Star hasn't changed. I'm trying to create something that impacts 50 years after I'm dead and gone. How how cool is that? That's just so cool.
So do you believe in the modern era where everything's documented and there's videos and books? Do you really think that 50 years, I think it could be longer, depending on, like, we are in an unprecedented time where everything is documented. So you're not having to dig through old cassette tapes to pop them in your VHS, if you even have one, to watch home videos. It's like everything's on YouTube and available.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I think about, I mean, wouldn't it be cool to see Jeff Bezos when Amazon was like a little shoebox, right? So I hope one rental at a time gets big enough that people want to go back and watch the first 1,000 videos. I recorded my first, I don't know, 400 videos were on my phone. I still do a daily show on my phone just to prove people you can do it. My daily financial news is recorded on my phone and done live, by the way. It's not record, it's live, just to show you can. But I hope people go back and watch it. That said though, dude, I got 13,000 videos. I remember that one time, like 2 or 3 years ago, somebody told me that I'm going to go back and watch every video you've ever done. I'm like, don't do that. Do that. I'll never catch up. Don't do that.
That's funny. So your daily show is not conversations like the one we're having right now, you actually dig into news and figures and
Mhm,
what's affecting and driving the industry. So
mhm.
how do you keep up with that? That sounds like incredibly difficult and also like potentially a tax on the mind. But again, like you said, you don't feel like you're working. So what's the
Yeah.
secret there?
Yeah. So the beauty of my channel, One Rental at a Time, is there's really two components. The first one we touched on earlier, I've attracted multimillionaires that come back every week and we have conversations just like this. There's a daily financial news show done at 7:30 a.m. Pacific where I talk to the camera live. But here's the beauty. I've already told you I've been broken 5 or 6 times. I have for 30 years. I'm a morning person. I got up this morning at 5:30, no alarm. From about 5:30 to 7-ish, I just read the financial news. I've done that for 30 plus years. The only thing that changed in 2018 is I start taking notes because I want to talk to a camera. That's the only thing that changed. I've been doing this routine for 30 plus years. So nothing changes other than I have a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that says, these are the 7 articles I read this morning. So it's not taxing. It's not new. It's something I thoroughly enjoy. And again, doesn't feel like work.
It's almost like consistency and focus are what's important there.
Yeah, almost like focus and daily discipline in 20 minutes a day. Yeah, important. Yeah, I'm broken.
That's awesome. And so again, circling back to the whole career and balancing things, most people have full-time jobs. That in and of itself can be difficult to balance. You obviously have a family. I have a family. So a lot of what I talk about, so you mentioned 20 minutes a day several times. Like what do you spend those 20 minutes a day on if you're somebody who's just getting started and in that first 5 years trying to build the muscle? Like
Mhm.
what is the path?
To me, it's very simple. I was lucky enough to be in a relationship where I could commit 20 minutes and my wife could commit 20 minutes. So we had segregation of duty. My job was to find deals to secure capital. Secure capital meant bust my ass during the day and make as much commission as I could. Get spend a, get really good at what I did. And I did that, right? 3 products to 100 million, right? I was good at that. But then I had to find deals. And that was 20 minutes a day. Dude, I looked at my buy box for 3 years, that little tiny buy box for 3 years. And it grew slowly after that. That was my job. Now, what did Olivia do? Olivia ran the books. She checked, she audited invoices and receipts. And she was the go between for repairs and evictions and all of that, like approvals. But that's it. That's one person ran the portfolio and one person found the next deal. That's it. 20 minutes a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
A lot of people talk about, I need to go build a network of private lenders. I need to meet every agent in town. I need to just become a very deep and wide networker. And not to say that you shouldn't network, but in your case, it was you guys have invested in most, if not all of these deals using your own capital, right? You haven't stretched out into the partnerships and the private money.
No JV. So we got to be careful with the vocabulary. No JVs, no partners. It's all us. We have taken private money, but only as debt, not equity.
Hmm.
We've done it a couple of times. When there was a time where banks wouldn't lend us, we were the evil landlords, right? Even though we never missed a payment, but they wouldn't invest in us or lend to us. So I was paying friends and family 10 to 12% interest only for 5 and 10 year notes. That was private money, but it was debt, not equity. And then after I retired, just because I knew my market so well, we decided to flip homes. We did over 50 flips in about 2 years. And in that case, we paid 6% interest, but gave our private investors 20% of the profit. So again, we have done private money, but only as debt, not equity.
So most people flip or try and get into flips at the beginning of their career, but it sounds like you did it after you had the time, your time freed up, not working
Yep.
anymore, and you already were master of your market, so to speak.
Yeah. And the team and all that. Being a landlord 2.5 hours away is hard enough. I could not imagine flipping 2.5 hours away if I didn't have a team and a network and systems and process and time. Again, I could have flipped earlier, but my job was to sell software. And if I had any extra hours, I would get better at selling software. I would learn the next technology. I would study a competitor. I would do something. But the other thing I really want to highlight here is if you have a W-2 job, I think your path to financial freedom is easier and more certain than an entrepreneur. I hope people hear that. Now, I will admit being an entrepreneur has higher upside, Like, you want to be a billionaire? Go be an entrepreneur. Dude, if you just want a better future, bust your ass in a W-2, create discretionary income, buy assets, hold for 10 years. I like your chances.
A lot of people feel the allure of that upside so much so that it pulls them away from what's right in front of them, which is a more arguably certain thing, at least in the moment. Now, I have a bit of a personal philosophy that if you are too dependent on a singular source of income, that can be its own risk, right? So
Yeah.
that's where the draw and that's where this whole hybrid real estate professional build something on the side, build rentals, build another couple things that can grow
Yes.
and compound slowly over time to supplement what you're doing with your day job. But I do think that one of the
Amen.
core thesis of the show is that, yeah, for most people, if not almost everyone, sticking to and getting good at a W 2 is going to pave that path. Now, the other thing I would say is that if you really hate your job that much, there are other jobs that probably would align better with your interests. And I think you
Yeah.
can take skills. So, like I work in management consulting, deep in business operations and strategy, change management, a lot of process design and stuff that 100% applies to real
Mhm.
estate. And if I worked in something that was completely detached or had no parallels, it might be a little different. But I think you can find parallels if you really dig deep and look at what you, even if you're working a retail or grocery store or car
Yeah.
dealership, whatever it is, there are parallels that can
Yeah.
serve you.
If I had a magic wand and I could wave it over some of the people that I interact with, it would be here. A lot of people tell me they hate their job or whatever. I think it's just a mindset, right? I think they look at their job as a prison. Like, I've got to do this because I got these bills. But if you just change your mindset and look at it as the key to financial freedom, I really believe that most people, if they really did it and did it the right way, could be financially free in 10 years. And I have multimillionaires on my channel as evidence that it's possible. I think if you just look at your job as, dude, I'm one day closer to being done. I'm one day closer to being done. I'm one day closer to being done. And you got try to get better at what you're doing. Dude, life is a lot funner when you're working towards something. So I would ask people to change their mindset. Yeah.
Totally agree. I'll share something that's a little bit of a personal, like personally on my mind right now as somebody with three kids. My daughter is 2.5, almost not even 2.5, and we have twins that are 3 months old. And
Woo!
so we're in this season right now where I recognize the value of these next 5 years when the kids are young, they still actually want to see us. But I'm in a time where I'm working really hard. We are very dependent on my W 2 income. We have this rental portfolio, and there's a lot of things that are competing for my time and attention. And so I'm constantly torn between how do I show up best for my family while also continuing to water these plants. And I know for you, you've dealt with managing multiple
Mhm.
realms of your life for a long time. So I wonder if you have any thoughts or because in my mind, 10 years from now, when my kids don't want anything to do with me anymore, I can add more to the hustle factor and ramp up more on some of these ventures. But there's that golden window that I'm very conscious of. And I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on that.
I have very few regrets in life, but one of them is I didn't get enough hugs for my daughter. I got plenty. I just wish I had twice as much. Because there is a time, and at least for my case, it was 12 years old or whatever, where it just suddenly you weren't their world. It was all these other 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds. And they come back, right? When she graduated, it's cool, but you never miss that hug from a 5-year-old who's excited to see you, right? Where you are their world. So I would tell you, and I think you're leaning this way, go get them. Go get those 5 years. But again, you're going to have to do more when they're sleeping. And you can't ever forget that. You're going to sacrifice sleep. But yeah, definitely the next 10 years are going to be amazing. And they're going to happen no matter what. So
Right.
you got to be dad. And when they're awake, be dad. And when they're asleep, sleep less. It's just where you are in life.
100%. And I think if I can boil one theme down from the show, it's that if I can be disciplined and pick those what I want to do. For me, it's more like probably an hour a day than 20 minutes because I've
Yeah.
got some content, I've got the podcasts, I've got the rentals, and I've got my job takes up a good chunk of the day. But if I can find that stuff where if I can put that hour to really good use and do the things that will consistently produce and compound over time,
Mhm.
to me, for the next few years, this next stretch, those things will bear fruit over time. And when the time comes and I have a little more free time to invest, I will have already planted those and flowered those seeds.
Yeah, and I would tell you the years that I missed, like when they're 3 months old, they're not really doing anything, right? It was like 5 to 10. Like, I still remember dropping her off at kindergarten, sitting in the back of the room. That was a cool day. I can still remember that. But yeah, I wish I had more of those. Yeah, 5 to 10 year old are the ones to really remember, at least as a dad. I'm sure as a mom as well, but I can't speak to that.
I'm publicly committing on this show that being a present father is a utmost priority of mine. And even though you obviously 7 times as much content as I do, and you did it all throughout your parenthood journey, we can be passionate about things like real estate investing in our careers. But I think centering back on what's really important to us, coming from a sense of purpose and giving back to our communities, that's the ultimate goal, right?
Amen. Said.
Awesome. I want to be conscious of time. You've been very generous to come on the show. I hope we can do it again sometime. Yeah, thank you very much for coming. Any final words you want to leave with the audience, and also where can they find you?
One of the few things I've done right is everything is one rental at a time, website, YouTube, Instagram, all of that. So should be easy to find. And then lastly, just know it's possible. It's possible and it's worth it. Hybrid real estate investor, hybrid employee, whatever you want to call it, is definitely worth it. And you have a W-2, you're closer to financial freedom than you probably think. So go get it. It's right there.
Awesome. Thanks again so much, Michael, and we will hope to see you again very soon.
Thank you for making it to the end of today's episode. As you may know, podcasts are very difficult to grow organically. If you're getting value from today's episode, I'd deeply appreciate if you can take 30 seconds to leave my show a 5-star rating and review. This will go a long way to helping me reach more listeners just like you. Thank you so much in advance.